You've probably heard it called the eighth wonder of the world, right? This force that's so powerful it can take tiny, consistent savings and turn them into, well, life-changing wealth. But let's be honest, it's one of those things we all kind of hear about, but do we really get it? Today, we're going to change that. We're going to really break down the power of compounding, and I'm going to show you why your most valuable asset, it's not your money, it's your time. All right, so to really get our heads around this, we're not even going to start with money. Nope. We're going to start with a simple thought experiment. Just a piece of paper. This is how we're going to really understand what exponential growth actually looks like. So picture this. Just a single sheet of paper. Like the kind in your printer. It's super thin, right? Just a tenth of a millimeter thick. Seems like nothing. But what happens if we start folding it? Over and over and over again. Okay, this is where our brains start to short circuit a little. Watch this. Fold it once, it's twice as thick. Big deal, right? No surprise. After 7 folds, it's about as thick as a notebook. Still makes sense. We can picture that. But this is where the magic really kicks in. At just 21 folds, that single piece of paper is now taller than the Empire State Building. No way. And if you could fold it 50 times, its thickness would stretch all the way from the Earth to the sun. That is just, it's completely unintuitive. That's the mind-bending power of doubling. That's what exponential growth feels like. So how on earth does this crazy paper folding thing apply to your money? Well, think about it. Your money can be folded over and over again too. Let's fire up that compounding engine and see how it actually works. So here's the textbook definition, but let's make it simple. Compound interest isn't just about getting paid on your first investment. No, the real magic is that you start earning returns on your returns. It's like your money is making money, and then that money starts making its own money. Every new dollar earned starts working for you, building on the last, and that's what creates that same crazy accelerating growth we just saw with the piece of paper. And this slide just shows the difference perfectly. Look at simple interest. It's a straight line, totally predictable. You put in your money, you get your percentage on that initial amount year after year. Slow and steady. But compound interest, that's the curve that starts to bend upwards. In the first few years, they look pretty similar. You might not even notice the difference. But give it time, and that curve just takes off. It goes vertical, leaving simple interest in the dust. So this brings us to the most important question. What fuels this whole engine? Sure, money is the fuel. You need some to start. But you know what the accelerator is? It's time. And here's the kicker. Time is often way more important than how much money you actually put in. I know that sounds crazy, so let's just look at the proof. Okay, this data from Morningstar, it's just staggering. Seriously, look at the first scenario. You save 10 grand a year for 40 years. You put in 400 grand total, you end up with over 2.1 million. Awesome, right? But now look at the next two. This is where it gets wild. If you only save for the first 20 years and then you just stop, you only put in half the money, $200,000, but you walk away with almost 80% of the final wealth. Now flip that. Save the exact same amount, 200 grand, but only in the last 20 years. You end up with a tiny fraction, just 20% of the wealth. I mean, it's the same money, same rate of return. The only difference is when you started. That's incredible. And if that table didn't convince you, this chart will. It tells the exact same story, but you can really see it. So let's focus on the early investor. They put in just $24,000 over 10 years, and then they stop. They don't add another penny. Now, check out the late investor. They start right after and they invest 3 times as much money, a total of $72,000. And the result? The early investor, who put in way less money, ends up with more. How is that possible? It's simple. Their money just had more time to do its thing, to keep folding over on itself year after year. All right, so we've seen how powerful this doubling effect is, but who wants to pull out a complex spreadsheet every time you want to figure this stuff out? Nobody. Well, turns out there's a beautifully simple little trick for that. It's called the Rule of 72. And trust me, it's a fantastic mental shortcut. It's going to help you get a feel for the power of compounding in like 5 seconds. And it could not be simpler to use. All you do is take the number 72 and you divide it by whatever annual interest rate you expect to get. So for example, let's say you think you can get an 8% return. You just do 72 divided by 8. That gives you 9. What does that 9 mean? It means your money is going to roughly double every 9 years. See? It's a super quick and easy way to actually visualize that growth curve in your head. And what's really cool is how versatile this little rule is. Yeah, you can use it to estimate how fast your investments will grow, but it also works for the bad stuff. Think about inflation. If inflation is at, say, 3%, you just do 72 divided by 3. That tells you your money's buying power will get cut in half in about 24 years. Or think about fees on an account. If you're paying a 2% fee, 72 divided by 2 is 36. That means those fees are going to eat up half of your potential gains over 36 years. So you see, it's a really powerful way to understand both sides of compounding, the good and the bad. Okay, so what's the big takeaway here? What's the one lesson that compounding really teaches us? Let's bring it all home. There's this great quote. People often say it was from Einstein. Whether he actually said it or not, it just perfectly captures the two sides of this whole thing. Compounding can be your best friend, silently working in the background, building your wealth while you sleep. Or it can be a total nightmare working against you through things like debt, inflation, and fees. The key is just understanding it so you can make sure you're on the right side of that equation. And this really gets to the heart of it. When you're young, every single dollar you have has more potential than it will ever have again. Think about it. Spending or losing $1,000 in your 20s isn't just a $1,000 loss. It's the loss of what that money could have turned into over the next 30, 40 years. You're not just wasting money. You're wasting decades of potential growth. You're wasting time. So, in the end, that's what compounding teaches us, right? That time is our single greatest ally when it comes to building wealth. The clock is always ticking, for all of us. So the question isn't about finding the perfect time to start or waiting until you have some huge pile of cash. That's not it. The only question that really, truly matters is, what are you going to do today?